What's that? Happy Mother's Day for all of our moms on the line. We appreciate you, especially if you saw my Facebook post yesterday, especially the realtor moms. I have a special spot in my heart because I know how crazy it is to try to, do our business while raising a family and homeschooling and everything else that we're doing now. So a very happy Mother's Day to all that celebrated yesterday. A quick heads up on some things for this week. Please mark your calendars for Thursday. Mark your calendar for Thursday at 3:30 will be an interview with Brian Cashman. And at 5 o'clock will be an interview with Mariano Rivera. And for those calls, we are asking for a donation because it is Red Day. As part of our Red Day effort, we're asking for a donation as part of the registration, and that money will be split among their charities and KW Cares and Pink Tie. So again, we're co-hosting that with Pink Tie out in Long Island, and we will be actually blessing 4 charities with the money we raise on Thursday. Rich, I'm buying time till you tell me that we're good to go. I'm not sure if they're on the call yet. So
let me find out. I'll call them right now.
All right, thanks, bud. Again, while I'm the host today, and again, I want to remind you guys, if you hit the speaker view in the top right-hand corner of your screen, that will give you the ability to just see who's speaking. Or you could do the general way where you can see everybody at one time. So while I'm hosting this today, I am super excited to have Brandon Steiner joining us with the amazing Cecil Fielder, Major League Baseball All-Star for years and years. And they've already got some things that they plan on talking about. I believe Cecil is on the call. Are you here, Cecil? I think you need to unmute. There you go.
Oh, okay. That's what it was.
Yeah, how are you doing, my friend? Great to see you.
Good.
Thanks so much for taking time out of your crazy schedule to spend with us today. Hey, who's that? Who's that over there?
That's Max. That's my little boy. I said, hey, what's up?
Hey.
Hey, Max, how are you? Are you Dad's technology consultant here today?
No, that's Mom, but he gonna make sure it's working for sure.
Awesome.
How's everybody doing today?
We are doing fantastic, and I believe Rich is tracking down Brandon because I know you guys have had some chats in the past, and he's got some questions for you.
Okay.
Well, while we're waiting for him, give everyone on the call a little bit of the history of your highlights. I mean, I know you were a Silver Slugger, your RBI leader. You were multiple-year All-Star, a World Series champion. I mean, wow, what a career.
Yeah, I had a good run. I mean, the first thing that happened for me was I actually went over to Japan in 1989 and was able to play over there for the Hanshin Tigers and had a good year and was able to come back here and play for the Tigers. And once I came back in 1990, I was the 11th player in Major League history to hit 50 home runs. I hit 51 that year.
Wow.
And also for the next 3 years, I led all of baseball in runs batted in. There's only been one other guy to do that, and that was Babe Ruth. So Babe Ruth and I hold a record together.
Awesome.
Once we got done with all that, 96 happened for me. That was one of the most incredible years of all time. We went over to New York from Detroit and had an opportunity to go through the playoff run and also to win a World Series with the Yankees in 96. And so at the end of the day, my run was good. I always say I wish I could have started out, when I got called up to the big leagues in 85, 86, 87, and 88, I wish I would have been able to be a regular player, but sometimes it don't work out for you until later. So
yeah.
Once it worked out for me, I made it work. I mean, we put in some good years. Good
Nice.
years.
Nice. Probably made some good friends too, I'm sure.
Oh, I mean, you never lose the friends you make in the game of baseball. You know what I'm saying? Anytime we're together, from Charlie Hayes, from Jeter to Mariano to Andy Pettit to whoever it is, Straw, you rekindle that conversation like you guys just talked yesterday, So, with all our guys, much love, Coney, one of my favorite dudes, and we started out together early when we were in Kansas City. So, You know,
Awesome.
everybody is good. All of our teammates, man, we always go back to that winning feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hey, Brandon, did I see you're on the call now? Are you here, Brandon Steiner? You might need to unmute.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. There you are. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, good to see you again, my friend. Cecil, good to see you.
What's
Cecil,
up, Brandon? How you feeling?
I'm glad you got dressed up for this call. Thanks.
Yeah, hey, white T-shirt. You know, I would have put on my wife beater, but I changed my mind.
You looking good though, man. You looking young, looking healthy. That's the most important thing.
Well, you know, with all this stuff going on, we got to be. There you go.
For you guys, I'm going T-shirt today too, guys. This is a T-shirt call. Let's get comfortable.
Let me skip the potatoes and get to the meat right now. Because you've been burning me all weekend, and I didn't want to call you and tip you off to this question, but what was going on in your mind? Because a lot of times people feel success. You were a beast as a player, but why'd you go to Japan? Like, why?
I had to. I mean, that was my option. The Blue Jays gave me an option whether I wanted to go play in Japan or I wanted to come back and sit on the bench. I mean, it was a no-brainer.
How would they ever get? I don't understand how they want you to be on the bench. You were
Well,
a monster.
you know, you
hitting
gotta,
home runs.
Hey, Brandon, you got to understand that organization back then. I mean, if you go over our lineup with the Blue Jays, you'll go down. And then at my position, you got Willie Upshaw, Fred McGriff, me, and John Olaru's going to be coming in a few years. So there's not a lot of baseballs to play. There's only one. So my best bet was to get out of there and start over.
What was it like playing in Japan, though? I mean, that had to be a big risk, just going there, the language.
No, I loved it. I loved it. I had an interpreter. I mean, it was so beautiful, man. I mean, Japan, you know, I lived in Kobe, and it was beautiful. Beautiful place we lived in up on the hill. It was beautiful. You know, they came and picked me up to take me to the ballpark every day. Bullet train on the road, interpreter every day. I mean, it was all – I enjoyed myself. I really did.
96. It was a stocked-up team there, too. It wasn't like they had some players. How'd you work your way into that?
Man, that was easy. I mean, all he had to do – you know, I tell Joe all the time, you know, we made him a superstar. You know, no other time in his career up until then had he ever been a winner. So he got that team from Mr. Steiner, and he got a superstar full team. I mean, all he had to do was find a way to make the lineup out, and that was the hardest thing he had to do. I mean,
but it wasn't
you think
easy
about
figuring out, you know, playing you.
No,
I mean, how'd that work?
I mean, he just had to come on with it. I mean, I looked at it like this. I think Joe looked at the lineup like, okay, who's hot? Who gonna carry us today? Who do I think that's gonna make this team, you know, engine run today? And I think that's the way he looked at it. I mean, he had to, because anybody you could have put in that lineup and we'd have won. I mean, who do you want to play? We're gonna win. But I just think he had to go sometime by his gut feeling, like, okay, I feel that the matchups are good, blah, 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 and that's the way he went with it. I mean, even when we got to the World Series, I mean, it was the same thing. I mean, you know, I played a couple of days down in Atlanta, but, you know, I was hot. You know, I was hot. I mean, he had to go with the hot hand.
2 questions. One, do people misunderstood how good David Cone was? And do you think Mariano was going to be as good as he ended up being back in 96?
David Cone, I mean, we go back to when we were in Kansas City together. David Cone has always been a stud. I mean, he can flat out pitch. I hated to face him as an opponent. I'm glad he became my teammate. But Mariano, you knew that kid was going to be a super. I mean, come on.
Really?
I mean, he at that point he was throwing one pitch and he was getting everybody out. Everybody. So
he was such a skinny little. I mean, you saw that.
I don't care. Hey, Brandon, I don't care what he is. He's a bad dude. Because let me tell you something. If we got to the 6th inning, the game was over. You think about it. Every time we got through that 6th inning, Mariano came in 7 and 8. That was a wipeout. There wasn't nobody doing nothing. I mean, he was getting everybody out. So then now Wetland got to come and get 3 outs. I mean, the the bullpen was set up so well. You know, our bullpen was set up so well. Even with our lefties, even everybody, you know, Graham. I mean, whoever came in to pitch for us, they were coming in there to do some work. So I just think when Mariano came into the game, I mean, we didn't. I don't want to say that we let down or we eased up, because we didn't. But we knew that he was going through that. He was getting 6 outs. There's no question in my mind.
Give us a Joe Torre story, though, something that, you know, was a lesson you learned from Joe, or something he did at a pivotal moment where you guys started really believing in this guy and really started playing hard for him?
I always say, Brandon, that Joe was Joe, right? But he had a way to talk to everybody. I mean, he had some egos on that team now. He had some big egos on that team. He had a way to get everybody to come into his office, have a seat, have a cigar. You want a cigar, blah, blah, blah. And he talked to you. And he wouldn't, you know, it was no raising the voice or anything, but he said things that got to you, like, okay, I'm going to show him, you know, he's pissing me off. Like the time that we started the series against Texas, and the first game I didn't play, they played Straw. Well, and that was, you know, Mr. Steinbrenner, you know, wanted to go, you know, with, I guess they were looking at some stats. I don't know what they were looking at. But anyway, so the next day, Joe says, listen, that's over. You're playing, and you ain't coming out. I mean, right there, man. I mean, that was boost for me. I'm like, hey, I ain't got to worry about coming to the ballpark tomorrow and not being in the lineup, blase, blase. Now I can go out here and just do what I do. And eventually we ended up winning that series, beating Baltimore, and, you know, going to the World Series.
Did you think, I mean, there was another skinny little kid, Derek Jeter, who wasn't even going to start. Tony Fernandez was started. Did you know he was that good right from the beginning?
Ice in his veins, baby. That boy had ice in his veins from the beginning. He had ice in his veins. And let me tell you, you know, just watching him play when he was a rookie, just watching him play, I mean, it don't go down like that. I mean, kids don't play that well. He played very well in that World Series. All the way through the playoffs, he played very well. And even during the season, he played very well. So at the end of the day, yeah, I felt – and it's the same thing with Andy Pettit. It's the same thing with Jorge Posada. Those guys were going to be some stars when they got the time to shine.
Answer me this, though. When you're facing adversity, you're down 2-0 in Atlanta. You faced adversity a little bit with your career, where you all of a sudden you didn't even have a job in Toronto. What's your mindset when it comes to adversity?
Let me tell you something. During that World Series, I had no problem going to Atlanta down 2-0. None. Because if you think about, Brandon, what happened to us is that we were sitting at home waiting. Atlanta was in St. Louis playing, and they scored 30 runs in the last 2 games of that series. Blew St. Louis out the water, right? So when they came to New York, they were already on fire. They were on fire. So, you know, I didn't feel bad about it. I just felt like, hey, this is giving us the opportunity to get ourselves together. And once we get ourselves together, we're going to go down to Atlanta. I didn't know if we was going to sweep them 3 straight in Atlanta, but I thought we'd make sure that the series got back home for sure.
But did you think, I mean, when you're facing that kind of adversity, is it about confidence in your strategy? Like, I worry about people now facing adversity in this virus.
You're exactly right. You got to know exactly who you are. I mean, each man on our ball club, you got to know who's on deck. Who's that guy standing next to you? Who is that guy on the other side of you? Are these guys going to come and go to battle? Yes, I know they are. So I wasn't worried. I wasn't worried about anything going to Atlanta, because I felt that, you know, we going to Atlanta, my boy's on the bump, you know, Pettit's on the bump. He wins 1-0. You know, those kind of games like that, man, that shows that character. Jimmy Leyritz, big 3-run homer. I mean, you check them games out that we played in Atlanta. They were all good games. They were all good.
But when Jimmy hit the 3-run homer, everybody was already assuming you guys were done. Everybody thought you guys were done.
I
What was
wasn't
the mood?
assuming that.
Just like everybody thinks that we're done now in this virus, everybody's going to shut down. There's going to be no business. What was the mindset in that dugout? Because I was in that game in Atlanta, and they were chopping away.
We gotta go. Hey, we're not gonna lay down for these boys. We got them. Listen, I mean, growing in the game and you seeing the guys that they had on their pitching staff pitching, they had a pretty good pitching staff too. Now that's not good. They had a real good pitching staff. But the thing about it is, man, I mean, you just got to take the bull by the horns, man. You got to get up there. You got to get up on top of the plate. You got to make them guys beat you. You got to. I mean, we had to do something that really hadn't been done. Not like that. I mean, being down 2-0 here at home in New York and then going to Atlanta and beating them 3 games in Atlanta, that ain't going to happen.
But do you think a lot of that there's a lot of that come from your teammates? Because I worry, I feel like we're down 2-0. I feel like there's a lot of pressure on, especially in New York, but all over the country. What do you tell people out there? Because it's really the same kind of trial and tribulation. A lot of people have gone really far to get to where they are. But how do you overcome this? I mean, there's a lot of people at a loss right now.
Dude. Well, no question. You got to take the bull by the horns. I always say that. You got to take the bull by the horns. You got to do what you got to do. And number one thing is you got to stay safe, because if you don't stay safe and you get sick, that's a problem. That is a major. And man, let me tell you something. I dig Cuomo. Cuomo, I dig him. You know why I dig him? He don't care. You can talk all that trash you want to. He's going to have to do what he got to do for his city and his state. And I think that is so cool, because you look at everything that's going on everywhere else. Everybody want to open this thing up. And I'm just saying, why do we want to get back in the same situation we've been in all of this time? Why don't we give it some time to work itself out?
I look at Cuomo a little bit the way I look at Tory. What I like about it, because we're all in I always say the baby's ugly, but it's your baby. At the end of the day, he tells the truth.
Right.
And he has a strategy. And he believes in his strategy. I always felt like Joe told the truth. He had a strategy, and he stuck with it. Even though he was down 2-0, he stuck with his strategy.
He always told you. Joe always told you what was happening. He wasn't going to sugarcoat it. He was going to tell you what's happening. And I'm going to tell you, I think that Cuomo is the same way. Cuomo is just, he comes out there, he says what he got to say, hey, this is what we're going to do. And now I was looking at him today, he's going to open it up, but he's going to do it slowly, May 15th. Hey, I'm with it. And I think if everybody would have did the same thing, we'd be okay.
I think now's the time when that's what you want to do with your customers, you want to do with your other employees, you want to tell the truth, and you want to reset. You want to refocus your strategy.
I agree 100%. I mean, it is so crucial right now, though, guys. It is so crucial right now that we do the right thing, because we don't want to end up back where we started. I mean, it's crucial.
Well, you got to think about the right thing before you do the right thing. Right now, you can't do a lot of the right things, but you can think about the right things. It's important to think about the right things, and then you don't have to worry about doing the right things.
Well, that's
where you get crazy. You get yourself all worked up.
But that's why Cuomo, he's chilled. He got ice in his veins. He's doing it the right way.
Yeah, don't stay home because you're scared. Stay home because you're smart.
No, because you're smart. I got all the underlying conditions in the world, right? I got, diabetes. I'm kidney issues. I ain't getting out there messing that up, because if I get it, it's upper room time. You understand what I'm saying? And I ain't ready yet.
I hear you. I believe that.
I got too much to do.
I agree with you. You got a view on what you think about the baseball situation and when that's going to pick back up, or do you think the season is very much in question?
Well, I only way I think it can happen is we just do it. We go, like they've been talking about Arizona, Florida, no fans, teams, quarantine. I mean, you got to be smart with it. And I think the fans would love it just to have it on TV.
Yeah.
I mean, just go play, go to Florida, go to Arizona, get the teams there, set them up how you need to set them up, and just play baseball. I think the fans would love it.
Let me ask you,
love it.
Do either of you guys see fans in the stadiums this year? Do you see that in baseball and football in the corner?
No, I don't see it happening.
I think the earliest we're going to see fans would be the fall. But the optimistic view on this thing is this thing happened really quick, right? I mean, we're only into this thing for 2 months. Yeah. It could get fixed real quick. we got the smartest people in the world working on it. As fast as this went down, and we're in a bad spot right now, which we all agree, it could get fixed that quick. But you got to have faith, and you got to be chill. That's how I view it. Cecil, what's your number one biggest adversity you faced? I know growing up in California wasn't easy. You probably had people say you were too big, you were this or that. Tell me about your biggest adversity and how you got through it.
Well, you hit it on the head. I'm always, I used to tell when I was in Toronto, that was the thing. Jimmy Williams became our manager after Bobby Cox left after the '85 season. It's so disappointing that Bobby left, but hey, he went to a better place. Okay, so Jimmy Williams became my manager, man, and I mean, every time he got me on the phone during the winter that time, listen to this now. So I'm like, Jimmy, I ain't been 215 pounds since the 8th grade. So how am I going to get this body to shrink down to 215 pounds? So I come to spring training in '86 looking like I wasn't hitting, I wasn't swinging the bat well, nothing. So Cecil Gaston comes up to me. He was my hitting instructor. So he says, listen here, I'm not going to say that I told you this, or if you say anything about me saying that I told you this, I'm going to say I never talked to you. He said, you better go start eating some food and putting some weight on so you can get some strength, because you are horrible right now.
Well, I got a feeling when you were small, you were big.
I was, but I got down to 215. That's come on. I mean, that's not even playing weight. Not for me. You got to have some beef.
You were big. You're a monster.
I had a couple questions that popped up here in the chat. I'd love to throw them out to you guys if I can. Cecil, especially for you being a player, how do you think the game changes when if you're in a stadium with no fans in the stand? Does that take some of the energy out of the game for the players? What would
no
feel like?
question. Oh, no question.
Is he broken up on all of us, or is it just me he's broken up on? I think we're losing you a little bit, Cecil. I don't know if you went to a different spot in your house.
I'll tell you something, Mark. When you play with no fans,
yeah, go for it.
When you play with no fans, one thing I want to say, just having been in a lot of ball games with no fans, the focus definitely increases, though.
Yeah.
The distraction, less distraction, more focus. A lot of these players don't see fans. They play it up like, oh, my God, there can be no energy. I've been 2 feet away from players I know for years that don't even see me. So I don't know how much of an effect it's going to have, but I think we'll see really good quality sports with or without fans. I really do.
Yeah, these people compete at a high level. And Brandon, from a business perspective, how much does the revenue in the stadium on game day kind of affect the bottom line of these businesses? Does that income coming? I don't know what's happening with him.
You had better get your online game together. I think what's really changed over the last 10, 15 years is how much revenue are derived from in-stadium attendance. And, that's where so much of the focus, and owners now really count on that. 15, 20 years ago, not so much. And, where you're really taking a big hit is if you're not playing in your stadium, particularly, you don't have your sampling, you don't have your concessions, you don't have all your food concessions, you don't have your promos for your advertisers and your endorsement people, like all those stadium walls if you don't play at that stadium. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a lot of money that gets put through from concessions. You go to a game, you want something to remember it, you go into the team shop, and that could be gone. And that's a lot of revenue as well. So I worry about sponsorship money, and I think the smart teams figure out how to refocus that so that sponsors can get their attention and their views and their attachment to the fans a different way.
Yeah.
A lot of these endorsement deals with the teams are about being in the stadium and sampling and being able to touch fans.
Yeah, and I think the value of the commercial time will go through the roof because there'll be a lot more people tuning in at home looking for a distraction. Emily, can you unmute Cecil? I think he's back. How's your connection, Cecil? Is that better?
I'm good.
We lost you for a little bit in there when we asked the question about playing an empty stadium. You got pretty broken up on us. Was there anything you were saying there that you want to share?
Well, again, I kind of agree with Brandon that, you know, at the end of the day, the guys are going to focus and play. But again, I would always like to see the people up in the stands, because I always say I'm going to shine. And if I'm going to shine, I might as well have somebody looking at me shining. You know what I mean?
You always played to the crowd. There's no question. You enjoyed the crowd. You were a fan-friendly player. Some would just completely block it out. I always felt like there was a fan connection, which is why you're so popular even still to this day.
Yeah, I love playing for the people. That's no question.
But, you know, Mark, one of the things that could happen is in the fall with all these tournaments and teams coming, everything coming back, yes, you'll get increased advertising rates, but as a fan, what do you watch? I mean, there's going to be so many things to watch. You have two tennis tournaments, car racing, golf, football, college potentially. It could be a crazy amount of sports on TV all at once.
Yeah, without a doubt, which would be a good time getting back to that. But it'll definitely you'll be appealing to limited viewers, I'm sure. So we were talking about Chrome before, and it made me think of another question. Times like this, leaders get questioned. Every decision we make as leaders is either looked at as a horrible decision or a great decision. Cecil, in your days of playing, did you see any decisions made by the coaches you played for that people probably questioned when they made the decision, but then it was like, oh, wow, that made sense? Did you ever come across any experience like that?
Well, you know, going back to the managers I had to play for, I mean, Bobby Cox, Sparky Anderson, Joe Torre. I mean, yeah, you know what? Those cats deserve so much respect that they got it from inside that clubhouse. All the players that they had in that clubhouse went with whatever they said do. I mean, you just did, because a guy like Sparky Anderson, he wasn't going to have it any other way. You know what I'm saying? A guy like Bobby Cox, oh, no, he still wore his spikes until his last day. So he still thought he was playing. So I'm saying these cats that I had the opportunity to play for, they were players, managers, and I think the players understood that they were the leaders, so we're going to follow their lead. And that's just the way you did it.
Awesome.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
Just one quick thing. Sorry for calling you Mark before.
It's all
Mike,
good. I was calling you out.
But the one thing I want to say is that I think the great managers, and one of the things that made Torre and Cox so great, is he created the game within the game and created a lot of leadership on the field. He gave his players a lot of empowerment, which seems to me. And when you look at the Yankee teams, there's a lot of leadership in there. And really, you could say the same thing for Atlanta, too. Those are 3 Hall of Fame managers you played for, by the way, which is unbelievable in itself. But when you look at the Yankee teams, all of a sudden you see the Jeters and O'Neills and Bernies all playing leadership roles. We know Mariano had a lot to say, Pettit. I mean, you got to give him a lot of credit. You got to give him a lot of credit for starting David Cohn game 3, in Atlanta.
I'm telling you.
There's a lot to be said about those kind of decisions. And I think leadership is really – so you think like leadership is kind of under-schooled these days, underestimated now, how important it is, and it's just all about the numbers and all about the
you hit it right on the head, because it's not the same. I think it's a lot more individual than it was back. You know, you think about him starting not playing Tino in game 3 and 4. Everybody
was on him for that, by the way.
Yeah, I know they were, but again, it worked out for him. He believed in it. He believed. See, that's a leadership. That's leadership. You know, and being in New York, that's the hardest thing for a manager, because, you know, he's gonna catch heat for everything. He just told, he called me this. Yeah, look here, you're playing. So that's it. You're playing.
Cecil, what if Mike? Remember we were talking about the home run that he hit at the stadium?
I wanted to win. He wanted to win. Everybody wanted to win. But again, even Skip, sitting Wade, ball playing Charlie Hayes.
Yeah, Brandon, you were going exactly where I was about to go with that question too.
What about it?
We were talking about fans in the stadium before.
You hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear us, Cecil? We keep losing you a little bit.
Yeah, I got you.
We were talking about fans in the stadium before when Jimmy hit that homer in '96. What was the energy in the stadium at that moment?
Oh, we took all the air out of that stadium. The air was gone in Atlanta, but in our clubhouse, it was on fire. I mean, we were on fire. I mean, that right there. You know, you think about Wohlers throwing 9 zillion miles an hour, right? And Jimmy fouling off these balls, going over there where Hank Aaron and them were sitting. He was so late. He was about to kill somebody in the stand.
I was there, man. It was true.
He messed around and threw Jimmy a slider. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Did you do that for real? Thank you very much. And that was it. You know, once we got to the tie ball game, it was it. I knew we were going to win that game. Wallace was never the same. That was it.
That's all. Were you? I got to ask you. I'm not saying if you did.
I hated
this,
to happen to him, but that Jimmy Davis hit a big home run right there, boys.
I was at that game, by the way, and everything you just said is exactly true from a fan standpoint. I've never seen people going from parade watch to suicide watch. But the cheating. Were people stealing signs? Has that been going on forever today, and they're making a big deal out of it, or what the Astros did over the top?
Brandon, hey, listen, if I can get the sign while I'm at second base and relay it to my hitter, that's baseball, right? Okay. And if the other team is at second and we sitting, hey, in the dang dugout with a TV, banging on the damn trash can and whistling and come on, man. Somebody get killed for that back when I played. You got hammered for that one. So I think, you know, what's happened now with the Astros is a break, but they call it a break because they were going to get it once that season started. They were going to get it.
Cecil, I know what I'm getting you for your birthday. I'm upgrading your internet service. And I'm going to get you an endorsement for the internet service in your area. You're making money on that. That's what my mind's going. I'm like, where's the internet service?
They terrible. Frontier is terrible.
I'm calling Frontier like in an hour. I'm getting you
Frontier is terrible.
Exactly. I'm figuring I can make some money off this call right now.
It is terrible here.
Dude, is there anything better than being a Yankee? I mean, is that I say that biased, but is it like
hook it up, Steiner, hook it up.
Is there anything better than being a Yankee? I think we lost them.
We lost them again.
Well, I'm going to make some money after this call's over.
Being a Yankee, you got to have.
Oh, we got them.
Yeah. No, I'm here, but I don't hear you. I'm here.
Yeah, we keep losing you, Cecil. I don't know if you changed rooms. You were great the first 20 minutes.
No, if you're a Yankee, you're always a Yankee.
Yeah.
I ain't moving. I ain't been. Yeah. I'm going to the other room. Hold on.
Yeah. And Brandon, another question came up in the chat while we're waiting for Cecil to change rooms. When you're playing at that level, I know you've talked to lots of sports guys over the years. When you're playing at that level, what are some of the things these guys do to stay focused and distraction-free? You know, we're often talking about here staying focused on what we have to do. These guys playing on a big stage in a big game, you know, how do they do it? How do they keep their concentration there?
I think the number one thing I've learned from a lot of the great players is that you can't get caught up playing that game differently than you play every game. I think what made Jeter so great, he played the same way in spring training as he did in the World Series and the playoffs. His level of intensity, you can never tell if the score was he was winning by 10, losing by 10. You know, and I think Mariano and some of the greats, you know, that's how you keep yourself from being distracted. You know, every time you're on that field, you're going to be on a certain level, regardless of what place you're in, regardless of your batting average, regardless of how things are going. And I think once you get into moving along where you're playing accordingly to the circumstances you're in a compromise to get distracted. Cecil, do you think that's true?
I think this is one thing I say. When you got a team like the Yankees, right, your intensity level is got to be up every single day. You mess around and drop that intensity, you won't be in the lineup. So, I mean, I wish I would have been able to play for 10 years on a team that was that. I mean, that team had so many great players on it. It's unbelievable. And to have those guys in the same locker room every single day, and don't nobody want to come out. Don't nobody want to sit on the bench. So everybody's going to bring it every single day. And that's why they were so successful, is that them cats brought it. Mariano Duncan, we play today, we win today. That's it. That's the mentality.
I agree. I think in times like this, even with the virus, the winners, the people that want to win, because you find something to do to take your game up another level. You figure out how to expand your relationships. You figure out how to get yourself better. If you're not doing that, you're going the opposite direction, and then come back and haunt you later on. And I think a lot of times, like my wife's like, man, everybody's home, relax. I'm like, why? That's exactly right. I'm going to outwork everybody while everybody's home relaxing, worrying. I'm out thinking about how I could just beat everybody when this thing gets back.
Yep.
And I think that's what you got to do when you're playing. Like, I think I see a lot of guys giving up at bats at the end of a game when you're up 8-0 or down 9-3. And that's when you see who the real players are. My son always said, Dad, this game's out of control. Let's go home. I said, no, now I want to see who's really playing.
Yep.
Now I want to see who's in it. Now who's playing the game, not the score.
Yep.
And you'd be surprised some of the players that would get up and you would think, I see Jeter get 4 hits. His 5th at bat, he's grinding. He wants that 5th hit.
Yep.
And you could always tell, like, when you see the bottom of the ninth.
But he is a special breed, though. That kid was a special breed. I mean, he was just special. Even the swing, it was ugly. The swing to me was the most ugly thing in the world. But he worked it out. He got those hands inside the ball somehow, some way. I don't know how he did it half the time, but he can get those hands inside the ball that was thrown right at him. I mean, the kid, he worked his game. He worked on his craft. He became unbelievably successful because of that fact right there. He didn't give up. He didn't give in on nothing. And that right there, that's big.
Was there a surprise player for you? Somebody that, you didn't really see coming that, like, wow, was a lot better and a little bit of an unsung hero?
On that team, everybody was good. But, in Detroit, I always said Travis Fryman ended up overachieving to me. That was one kid that overachieved because he wasn't a kid that could hit the off speed or all of that. But if you threw him that damn fastball, he's going to bang it. He's going to bang it. I don't care who was out there. Hinkie, all the guys that threw gas, Travis would turn it around. And that right there, to me, he overachieved because he couldn't hit a lot of other pitchers. He could hit fastball.
Were you getting pushed to play football when you were a kid? Was you a big kid, or it was always baseball?
Football, basketball. I was an all-state basketball player, and I played point guard.
Point guard?
Man, you better ask somebody about me.
Wow, so you had a jump shot, you could dribble the whole thing?
I was a 4-year letterman in basketball. I scored 31 in the semi game at the sports arena. 31. Me and Sean Holiday went head to head. I jammed him up. He beat us by 2 points, but I scored 31.
So nobody could guard you.
They could, but I dunk on them. I'd do whatever I wanted.
How about football? What position?
Inside linebacker.
You were probably difficult.
I could have played football. I could have played basketball. And I don't know how I got to playing baseball because I didn't play baseball for real until I was a junior in high school. So I was like, I don't want to play baseball. My only reason I played baseball, to tell you the truth, is my dad came to my room one day and said, listen, why don't you just give it a shot? I played Little League and all that, right? I was pretty good, right? So my dad says, let's give it a shot. Let's just go out and play. And I did, and I kind of started liking it. And I worked harder than everybody else. I had to, my coach was throwing batting practice at me with the little light behind the batter's box. I mean, we had no lights at the school, but we had that one light on the field. I'd take batting practice in the dark. I had to get better because I wasn't go out there and stink. I was going to get better. And that's what I did.
Let's talk about that for a second. We have a lot of parents on the call. Yesterday was Mother's Day. As a parent with our kids, like yourself, most of the guys you knew, were they just naturally gifted, or did they work days and months and years at this craft in order to build their skills?
Well, I tell you this, and I'll tell anybody this. I'd rather pick an athlete than a baseball player. You understand what I'm saying? I want an athlete because that athlete, a baseball player is just a baseball player.
Yeah.
He's not to me, those guys that are stepping into the hall, or those guys that are playing the game up at another level. Those guys just didn't play baseball. Those guys been athletes.
Yeah.
And I think that parents should let them kids go through the cycle. If baseball season's in, yeah. If basketball season's in, yeah. If football season's in, play. Because I think it's the best thing to do.
And I'm glad you're talking about that. It's more competitive, I think, today than it was 20 years ago. I mean, my kids are in a class of 600 kids. So a lot of people are saying, put your kid into one sport, have them play it all year long so they can improve their skill in that sport. But I'm hearing different from you, Cecil. Make sure they're well-rounded. Make sure they're stretching the different muscles by playing a variety of sports.
I think it's the best thing for them to play all different sports. Play everything. Play everything.
Awesome. Awesome.
Must be nice, to be able to play everything. Must be nice.
I'm a 5'9" white kid with asthma, so it wasn't my forte, that's for sure.
My mom took me out of a school that was competitive sports, knowing I'd be like the next Rudy, and put me in a school with no sports. But she said, "You're never going to make any of those teams. You'll probably spend every waking moment trying to make a team, and you're never going to play. So I'm going to save you all that aggravation." Very, very.
Hey, but you did very well in sports, though. You did very well in sports.
I found another trap door. Yeah, I found another trap door.
Yeah, you did, for sure.
What's funny is you guys were always arguing in the locker room about me. That's what I love is, all those guys fighting and arguing over, how much money you're going to get paid and all that. That was always fun.
Yeah, we had to argue about it.
Love that.
You had different guys. You had different areas of the clubhouse. People playing cards. People arguing. It was incredible. That was an incredible clubhouse.
Oh, there's no question. And they loved the prank. They loved giving people a hard time. Who was the best prankster back then? Who was your best prankster?
Man, we had quite a few, man. You know who was a closet prankster was Bogsy, man. Bogsy was a closet prankster. And another thing about and I know everybody probably know this, I ain't never seen nobody drink beers like Boggs. Ever.
Really?
Ever.
Some hitter.
Oh, what?
I'd love to ask you. I'd love to ask you about the home run you hit. Was it in Milwaukee where you had the longest home run out of the stadium?
Well, I did. I hit one in Detroit and one in Milwaukee. Yeah.
So when you're hitting a record-shattering home run distance-wise, what goes through your head at that moment?
I got every bit of it. Oh, I got it all. I didn't leave none. I got every little bit of that ball. My boy Playsec, he takes a beating on MLB Network. Every time I seems like I turn to MLB Network, they're talking about him giving up that bomb every single time. And the other guy I got like that was Dave Stewart. So I wasn't getting no cheapie. I was getting some real pitches.
Wow.
You don't have those bats still, do you, by chance?
No, I don't got them bats. You
know what?
Got
to make a couple bucks here. I'm just asking.
You know what?
You already think of signing that bat. That would be a good sale, wouldn't it?
You know what? Those bats went to the Hall of Fame because unless Smink took them and he sold them, but I think they went to the Hall of Fame.
Well, the Lord giveth and the Lord can take back. And I'm thinking maybe we just do a limited edition of that scenario, the longest home run hit. Maybe that's a bat we could create maybe next time.
See, now you're talking, Brandon. Now you're talking my language.
We got to make some money before we get off this call, and we got to cut a couple real estate deals while we're at it.
And you know what? While we're on this call, Brandon, next time we have this call, don't be in the car driving.
I'm mostly yeah. I'm not usually driving, but I wear this mouth guard for snoring, which I know like my wife's already ready to kill me. And my mouth guard got a little twisted. I'm going to the dentist to have him fix my mouth guard because I got to keep my wife happy. And when I'm snoring, it keeps her up.
You better.
But these custom mouth guards for everybody out there, if you're snoring, they're amazing if you get the right mouth guard. And it's such a big issue now with sleep apnea. and it helps your productivity. And I haven't slept well the last 2 weeks because my mouth guard's not working.
Well, I got my machine. I got my sleep apnea machine. It's unbelievable. I love that.
But you may not need it. This mouth guard, you don't need that whole mask and everything.
I
This
like
mouth guard,
that. I like the extra air coming in. I like it. Oh,
all right.
God.
Yeah, I'm not going to bed with a mask on. My wife will throw me out.
Hey, Brandon,
No,
speaking of making some money for both you guys, a few folks asked how they can get something autographed by Cecil. Is that something they go to you for? How can someone get their hands on an autograph?
It's a good question, man. We always do signs with Cecil.
He knows how to do it.
I think the fun stuff now, when I'm trying to work with the players, and at some point we're going to create your own website for you, Cecil, so people can see all the stuff you're doing, and then we do the shop for the player. That's kind of what we're working on with my new company, Collectible Exchange. But I tell you what's really exciting is being able to buy stuff directly from the players, and then being able to get personalized stuff and personalized messages, especially in an environment like this, where the extra graduation, good wishes, and that stuff really means a lot from a kid's or a person's favorite player.
Yeah.
So that's what we're working on my new site, actually, which is funny you bring it up. But it's fun, like if you can actually go to a Cecil and buy something, feeling like directly from them, and you can personalize the item. And that's kind of the game we're playing now with the new site. So, by the way, I did mention you can go to my website, get a free book, a Collectible Exchange. Just go there and you get one of my 3 books. Cecil, don't even go there. You've been blocked out.
But by the way, folks, I just put that URL in the chat box. So if you want access to collectibleexchange.com, it's right there in the chat box. Copy and paste that. Awesome. Well, guys, thanks so much for your time. I know how busy you both are. I appreciate you taking some time away from your world in order to share some of these fun stories, fun jokes, fun time with all of our folks. If there's ever anything we could do for you guys, please let us know. Cecil, what's that?
One quick question. What size shirt do you wear now? Is it a double XL or?
Double XL.
Yeah, I'm sending you some clothes, man. Just saying.
Hey, I've never had a problem with clothes because if you go upstairs, I got all the clothes you have.
I know you're a very serious dresser.
Yeah,
I know how to do that. Virtual talk clothes, though.
But I'm home, man. Hey, this is home, man. We're in quarantine. I'm come on.
You're real. You're real.
Yeah, this is
I'm
who I am.
I'm going to send you some virtual talk clothes.
Okay, send me some virtual talk.
You can't get too dressed up, and you can't be too casual. It's very complicated. Like, what should you wear on a virtual talk?
I love walking around the house in my T-shirt.
We need Larry David to work this out for us and figure it out.
Hey, good to see you, man.
Yeah, it's great seeing you, brother. You look good and stay healthy, stay smart, stay inside.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I will do that. You do the same.
Hey, Brendan, thanks for your time. Cecil, thank you so much. It was great chatting with you guys, and we'll see you. We'll see you Thursday, Brendan.
All right, you got it.
Later.
Thanks for being here. Again, look at the schedule for the rest of the week. Wednesday, I'm doing a real estate market update on Wednesday and kind of giving you some of my ideas of what I see happening over the next 60 days so you can plan accordingly. And of course, we've got is Cecil still here, or did he chime off? No, I missed him. I was supposed to ask him about title. He's a title guy as well, so sorry about that. And then Thursday, we'll have the interview set up with Mariano Rivera and Brian Cashman. So look for links for that in your email and on Facebook. Thanks for being here. We're going to wrap up today like that as opposed to a funny video. Have a great rest of your week. And again, make sure you put some time aside on Thursday for Red Day to give back to your communities. Have a great day, everybody.